Welcome to Passive Aggressive Income. This program may contain strong language. The content may not be suitable for audiences under the age of 17. We understand many of our listeners may not agree with all of our personal viewpoints. We in no way, shape, or form mean to be offensive to anyone. Our show notes will provide all of our source material included for each episode. Now let's get passive aggressive. Welcome back to another episode of Passive Aggressive Income. So for this episode, I'm really excited because we are interviewing Nick Crawford, who is a real estate investor and a Wunderkind. So for those of you who don't know what a Wunderkind is, it's a person who achieves success at a young age. So this is true about Nick as he started his real estate investing journey when he was only 17 and has grown his portfolio ever since. And I am so proud to have him on our podcast and excited to talk about all the things he has achieved.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, Nick. I am so interested in hearing your story because doing anything that adult-like at 17 years old is so mind-blowing.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me on. I'm super excited. So yeah, for sure.
All right, so let's talk about how you got into real estate and then your first property purchase.
Yeah. So it's fun. So this 5 years ago now, which is a while for
Wow.
me. It's I was 15. I was blessed to find out about real estate real young. When I was 15, a guy that used to work for my dad, he had left his job making pretty good money. And when he left, my father was like, what are you doing? Like, you're 30, you're making good money. Why don't you, climb the corporate ladder? And on the
Mm.
side, he had been investing in real estate. And so he had built a portfolio large enough to obviously retire and covered way more than his W-2 income ever did. And so from that, I kind of like found out about it and was like, I really like this idea. I never knew, I knew I didn't want to go to college. I never knew what I really wanted to do. I just knew that I liked the idea of being on my own time, kind of being my own boss and being able, no one's going to tell me where and what I cannot do. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I just love the idea. So I fell in love quick. I started reading books like, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I think
Yeah.
everyone, it's like,
Yeah. A
yeah,
staple.
yep, for sure. Listening to Bigger Pockets podcasts and just trying to learn as much as I possibly can, just indulging myself in the world of real estate, and then working as much as I could. So from 15 to 17 was basically that time. I was working as much as I could, going to school. Um, and there was an opportunity that I got, which was incredible. I was able to graduate early, and that same guy that I learned real estate from, his name's Logan Rankin. He had a seminar back in 2021, and I was able to go to it. So I lived down in Madison at the time, and he lives in the valley, the Fox Valley, which is about a 2-hour drive for people who don't know the distance there. And woke up real early, went to the seminar, and afterwards I had emailed him, just kind of asking for advice. I obviously looked up to him. He's, all this money, he's stupid rich, and he's done what I want to do or get to.
Right.
Um, and he responded back, and he basically asked me out to lunch, which was so cool. So excited to be given that opportunity. So met up with him for lunch, and during that, he offered me a job to come work for him.
Wow.
So that was an incredible opportunity. Obviously, I had to take it, so I did. I graduated early, moved up out of the house at 17, and started working full time for him, trying to obviously just get under his belt and just learn as much as I possibly could. Um, and with doing so, within 3 months, I with obviously saving, learning as much as I possibly could the last 2 years up to that point, and then having now resources, being under him, and with that job, within 3 months, I was able to find my very first property. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, it's really, really cool. It's incredible. And then to tell you guys, do you want to hear about the first deal or the numbers on that
Yeah,
at all?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so the very first property is the one I actually live in right now. I house hack it now, but that wasn't originally
Nice.
my strategy. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, I purchased it for 70. Um, put about 30K into the rehab, and then it appraised 6 months later for 160,000. So it over doubled in
Shut
value,
Oh
which
up.
my
was
God.
Wow.
incredible. Yeah, absolutely incredible. I struck gold on this very first one, which is so cool. And
Right.
yeah, bought it for 70, appraised for 160. Did a thing called a cash out refi, which
Mhm.
is obviously you're getting a new loan on the new appraised amount, pulling that out in debt. Paid my old loan off of 54,000, left me with $77,000 with my very first deal. Obviously, had to pay myself back for the down payment. And the hard money loan for the actual flip. But after that, it was all free cash, and I was able
Mhm.
to then take that money and continue to disperse that into new deals, new properties.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah.
incredible.
Amazing.
That it reminds me of that meme. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like, why was I sleeping on like housing when I was in middle
Yeah,
school? But
Oh,
like I feel
yeah.
like you're the one
Why
who's
wasn't
right.
I
living
buying
this.
houses when I was like 5 years old? Yeah,
Right.
like
But like it's
yeah.
possible. I mean, maybe not five, but 17 is so young. And when I
Mhm.
think of 17, I think like I'm still trying to like get my shit together and like get through high school, but there's so many other ways of doing life and being successful than just like going to college and, getting a
Oh, yeah.
degree, getting a job. Like you can do whatever you
Hmm.
want. So it's really cool to see your success at such a young age.
Thank you so
Mhm.
much. I really appreciate that. And yeah, and like I was saying, I don't know. I was never really good at school, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that, I it was just my outlet. Real estate became my outlet, and
Mhm.
I felt like it made sense. I understood it. And
Yeah,
so I
Right.
fell in
for
love.
sure. So, can you speak to the level of importance of having a mentor in a field you're interested in and just how having someone to help guide you can propel you into that level of success?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's extremely important. Without having someone there to kind of, there's every single day you're going to run into different paths that you're going to have to take. I mean, and tons of issues nonstop. And having someone that's either been there, done that, they can help direct you and guide you, like you're saying. And I mean, it's extremely important from issues that you have to deal with to being able to mold your strategy and your time and your values to something similar that this person has. I mean, it's it's an unbelievable amount um, of knowledge that you can get from a mentor and in so many different ways. It doesn't just have to be directly, sometimes it's not just directly like, oh, business related. It can be
Mhm.
in tons of different aspects. So I would say it's extremely important. And, obviously not everyone's going to have someone in the exact same situation as mine. But it's as easy as, something you can do, which I've met multiple people this way is, go on Facebook, go look up a bunch of rentals, find any apartment owners and just start messaging them.
Yeah.
Not like you're trying to buy it, but just like, hey, I'm a local real estate investor. I just want to get to know you. Like, you want some free lunch? Like, I'd love
Right.
to just talk to you. And that works. I've brought multiple people out that way. And, I think in the world of real estate, we're very passionate about it. You can't really do it and not be passionate about
Yeah.
it. And with
Mm.
that being said, we all love to talk about it. We all love to share our experiences. And if someone sees that you are passionate and you're driven and that you love it, someone is more than willing to share and help and want to see you grow and learn. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's great.
I feel like a lot of the investors that I've met have always been like, I want to help you. I want to like give you like the little nuggets that nobody told me.
Yeah.
I haven't had one person be like, no, that's like privileged information or
Yeah.
anything like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
So that's so true that unless you meet some dickhead, it doesn't really happen.
Mm-hmm. No,
Mhm.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah.
So everyone has an investing style. For example, for me, we did a whole bunch of house hacking. I think we did it like 5 times. And then Lexi, you are also a house hacker, and then you're operating short to midterm rentals. What is your style?
Yeah, my style is I mean the Burr method at its finest, its simplest form.
Right.
Basically for those who don't know, it's you buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. And so you're basically buying houses that are distressed, in need
Hmm.
of love, in need of work. And I am basically flipping those properties and then yes, pulling that money out at the new appraised number, basically, new appraised
Hmm.
value, so that you can basically keep the money rolling while still keeping the properties for passive income and being able to rent those out. And so that's my main strategy. I've done a few things here and there. I've flipped a few and sold a few. Um, but for the most part, I'm a buy and hold long-term investor, and I like to buy distressed properties. And um, yeah, so that's I love it. I feel it's the easiest, fastest way to scale. It can be stressful, but yeah, it's fun and it's cool to see a difference. It's
Yeah.
rewarding to take a
Oh
property
yeah.
that's you see it in this terrible, terrible shape, and then
Mhm.
6 months later it's beautiful and new floors and paint and new bathrooms, and it's
Yeah.
really rewarding. It's
You're
cool.
like, I did that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you get like a high from that. Or at least I do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, I do too. Well, I feel like you get multiple highs in business, like getting a property
Yeah.
under contract,
Yep.
flipping it, getting like the refi or the sale, like for sure you
Right.
get like these like spikes of
Yep.
dopamine when these things happen. So,
Yeah.
Right. Fuck drugs. Just buy real estate.
Right.
yeah, literally.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years as far as your investing journey goes?
It's actually constantly changing. When I was, this is scary how fast time's moving. I'm going to be 21 next month. And so I
You're
was
so
17.
young.
I
I
Faith and
cannot
I are
believe.
28.
Well,
We're like, oh, 21.
this is what's bad is I remember when I was 17 and I bought my first property, I was like, okay, like in 5 years, I'll be 22. So like, I'm like, this is great. Like I have so much time to like buy. And now that I'm like 21, I'm like, oh my God, like, okay, I haven't like done as much as I thought like I was going to in that time frame. So no, my goal, I would like to have close to 100 units in 5 years. I'd
Oh,
be about 25, 26. I've been in the game for 8 years at that point. And with just my strategy and how aggressive, I try to basically like leverage as much debt as I possibly can and then just find a way to make it work. That's not obviously like the best thing to do for everyone and in their situation, but obviously with, I'm not married, I don't have kids, I don't, if I
Right.
crash burn and lose it all, I can get it back real quick. Like it's not, the end of the world. So
right.
Right.
um I'm definitely trying to, you know, go as fast as I can. But with that being said, yeah, I would say 5 years I would like to have around 100 units in my portfolio and um, yeah, continue to. I would like to build a small property management company. That's kind of my goal. I want to hire on a few employees, and actually, I'm planning on hiring a part-time payables and like bookkeeper person here shortly.
Look at
So
you,
Nice.
Nick.
yeah,
Big
yeah,
You're
pretty
step.
so
excited.
grown up.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I know
but
one thing you said before was like you don't have as many rentals now as, you were hoping when you were 17 and you were getting started. And I think that that's a really common theme for people who just
hmm
get started in investing. We're like, I have all of these big goals. I'm gonna have all of these units and like all of this is just going to fall into place. But when you're that young and you're just starting out, and even if you have a mentor, you're gonna make mistakes and you have to learn from
hmm
them. And so, I mean, I think, maybe and a goal is supposed to be something that you reach for anyways, it's
yeah,
not something
true.
that you can easily achieve. But yeah, I think you should still be very proud of where you're at now. And
Yeah,
yeah.
well, thank you. And I am proud. It's cool. But yeah, I mean, it's just funny how fast the times moved and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like this it's,
Yeah,
yeah,
sneaks up on
it's
you.
crazy." Yep, it sure does. But
Well, when I was around you more, Nick, I was like, I need a 22 unit apartment. And that still hasn't happened yet because like life is just so weird like that, where it's like,
Hmm.
it's not your time yet, or it's like not the right deal, or whatever the case may be. So it's like, I totally get you on that. Like, you want to be somewhere, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to get there. It's just like, it's not your time yet, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And I've I'm beginning to kind of learn that, it's life moves fast and it changes quick,
Yeah.
and you kind of just, yeah, I totally believe everything happens for a reason. And so,
Yeah.
I am where I am for a reason, and that's okay. It's good. Life is good and I'm happy. So, yeah, no, you're right. It's not the time for 100. I
Yeah.
want 100, but I definitely wouldn't be able to take on 100 anyways.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So, what is one thing that you have learned from your whole investing experience that you still keep in the back of your mind to this day?
Oh, that's a great question.
That's a good question.
Um, you know, that's a hard one. Honestly, there's multiple things. The biggest thing that I would say I learned, it's not directly like a issue that I had or something that I needed to learn, but it's uh it's to remember your whys.
Mm,
You need to remember why it is you're doing what you're doing, and it's easy to be caught up in the numbers and the money, and it's fun, like we were saying. It's almost like addicting to see
yeah.
you continue to scale, and it feels good. But I think, like we were kind of just saying, is sometimes it's good to, you need to let off the gas sometimes in order to fill the tank back up with gas, and continue
Mm,
to your journey to go further. And
yeah.
sometimes it's important to, yeah, I mean, it's just something I've realized over time is you cannot just go 100% all the time every
Yeah.
day. And yeah, to remember your whys. For me, that was the big thing is, my original whys was I want to have a family someday, and I want to be able to spend my time with them and never have to like go into work. I want to see my child's first footsteps, and I want to, be able to
Aw,
go to their games and all these other things, right?
yeah.
As well as, you know, I like to be outside. I'm a fisherman and I like to do all this stuff. So I love golf. If it's a 75-degree day, I sure as hell don't want to be sitting in an office. I want to be
Yes.
outside. Um, and it's really easy to quickly lose that grasp on your whys. It's very, very easy to.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
easy to get super overwhelmed with everything that's going on, and it's super easy to get, yeah, overwhelmed with wanting to constantly scale and move the needle further and further. But
Right.
sometimes it's just not worth it for whether that's your mental health or whether that's just your time. It's just, you do it to get time back, and then it takes all your time away because you're constantly, so.
Yeah.
I would say that is the biggest thing that I have learned is knowing when to take breaks and understanding um, that yeah, I need to focus on my whys, and yeah.
I
Mhm.
love that you said that though, because that's like grounded me now to like think on my whys, because you don't often do it while you're so busy and caught up in life.
Hmm.
So
Mhm.
thank you for reminding me. Yeah, I
You're
definitely needed
welcome.
that.
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice for sure.
Yeah.
So, what was one of the biggest hurdles that you faced starting your investing journey at the age of 17 or up until the point that you're at now?
Um, I mean, the biggest thing being my age is obviously a huge deterrent for some people, and
Mm,
obviously I get it. I like to think I have the knowledge that most people in the field do, but I definitely understand that for a lot of individuals who haven't yet met me or we haven't had a conversation, they look at me and they're like, this, who the fuck is this kid? Um, and so, it makes it hard to lead teams or contractors, tell people, what to do. And,
right.
it makes it a little bit difficult to have reliable, consistent um, relationships with some people, things like that, which honestly, it's not terrible. But obviously, lending was a hard one to get at first. That took a while. Obviously, with like having to, not a long credit history,
Right.
and everything else. But I mean, it's one of those things, just like anything. You just, as long as you're as long as you can show people that you know what you're doing, and money talks at the end of the day, and I have a resume, so it allows
Absolutely.
people to yeah, trust in me. So but I would just say my age itself is one of the biggest hurdles that has kind of gotten in my way. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see that. People have that first impression of you and they're just like, who is this kid? Who does he think he is? But like you said, you got the resume for it, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
What is a common mistake you've seen when someone has purchased a rental property or just like in this whole investing thing?
Yeah, that's another great question. A common mistake that I see people run into um, is one, not trusting the numbers,
Mm,
and two, letting fear um, like dictate and determine the
mm,
deal. I think I think if you're going to get screwed in the game of real estate, it's going to be one of those two things, and usually they're combined. Um, I learned very quickly you have to trust the process. You have to trust the numbers. Numbers don't
mm,
lie. And if
mm,
you, for me, it's, do the numbers make sense? And if they don't, can you make them make sense? And do
Mhm.
you have the resources and the time and the ability to make those numbers make sense? Right. So it's if all those check out, do it, you're good. If you can make the numbers make sense and you have the resources and you have the time and you have like the ability and the knowledge, go for it, 100%.
mm.
Um, but I think a lot of people they get scared. They're, well, is this what I actually, and they either miss out on great deals or they
Yeah,
miss out on easy opportunities to maybe add extra value to their properties because,
Mhm.
they don't trust the market, or, they don't trust that, they don't want to get more debt, or they don't want to, they don't want to
you're
spend an
right.
extra couple grand to increase the value by,
Right.
30%.
Right.
There's a lot of things that I think people make mistakes in, and those are probably the two largest.
Hmm. Yeah. So, what's the best piece of advice you can give to someone who is interested in investing real estate at any age? And I feel like, especially now, when I
Mm,
hear from a lot of people that like housing is just so inaccessible because it's so expensive and interest rates are so high. So, what
mhm,
advice would you give to those people and who are just interested in getting started?
Yeah. Um, Honestly, it's it is tough right now. It's super tough. Um, but there is always a way. And to me, I see it in two different ways. You're gonna have individuals who are gonna say, "Screw that, I'm gonna make it happen," and you're gonna have individuals that say, "Well, no, now's not the time."
mm,
And for both of those people, that's totally cool, but you need to do one thing first for either one. In either situation, you need to educate yourself. You need to learn.
mm.
And the easiest, the best way to learn is obviously going out and doing it. And if you can't do it yourself, then go find someone who is doing it.
Mhm.
Mm,
And just like that's where the whole mentor thing, it kind of wraps around full circle. Like find someone
yeah,
who's doing it, surround yourself with that person, and see, one, is this what I want to do? Is
mm,
this what I thought it was like? Because I guarantee you, it's probably not what you thought it's like.
right.
And then on the other one is, it allows you to learn from their mistakes and learn without it being your money and you're not tied to it. Um, and so yeah, that's number one, is get educated. And then two is, you can have the person who's going to try to wait when the market gets better, which there's never a perfect time to buy. Now is the time to buy. It's always will be, it's just, now is always the best time. There'll be easier times, there'll be tougher times, but at the end of the day, you have to get a property in order to be a real estate investor. You gotta
Mm,
you gotta do it. You gotta jump in. Um, but yeah, once you're educated, things become so much easier. I remember hearing something that you need one of two things to buy real estate. Um, Both is best, but it's either money or you need the knowledge.
mm,
One of those two, and you can make it happen. If I had not a single dollar in my bank account, I know for a fact that I can still buy a property.
yeah,
Like whether I'm using other people's money, whether I'm using the banks, whether I'm just, like there are so many ways to buy real estate. There really is no excuse. And if you have the knowledge and you understand it well enough, you'll know that you can make it happen.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. So yeah, education comes first before money.
Yeah.
So
I think you just like took me to church because you were just preaching the holy everything. So yeah, you're amazing. I have one last question. So what would you say to those people who are getting into investing because they see like the big dog investors driving fancy cars and wearing designer clothing and just like essentially just chasing the lifestyle?
yeah, I I would say one, if that's like going back to what I was talking about with your whys, if that's your why, um, it's probably not going to work out for you at the end of the day. It probably won't. The game of real estate is very stressful and challenging, and there are constant problems and constant issues, and it's not going to be, this free range, I could do whatever, lifestyle that, most people dream of and think that it really is. It gives incredible opportunities to create time for yourself where you get to structure your day however you please. But at the end of the day, nothing's truly passive. And so if you're going to get into this, if you're going to get into real estate, you got to have stronger whys than that. If you're getting into it for, to wear designer clothes and to have a fancy car, those things are great, but that cannot be your leading driving force, or factor for why you're in it, because it won't work out for you.
Yeah.
So
Right. I feel like
I
that
love
goes
that.
back to something you said earlier about like how you really have to be passionate about real estate to be in it, and especially to like dive so deep into it where you're involved in owning or working with like a bunch of different properties at once. Like that takes dedication. And if it's something so surface level, like just wanting fancy shit, it's just not going to work out.
totally agree. That's a great way to put it. Yep, for
Yeah.
sure. And then, yeah, with that being said, one thing I just thought of for like someone getting into real estate, which I can go back on that. I just totally forgot.
Oh.
What I wanted to add is, something that I think is cool about real estate is that they're going into the whole, there's so many ways to invest. You know, you also don't need to make this your full-time job, and you don't have to
Mhm.
go all in, dive all in, like, um,
Yeah.
spend every single dollar and every single minute. It's like if you want, you know, to have one property or two properties that offset your carbs, great.
Mhm.
If you want, enough that offset your expenses, great. If you want to become a millionaire, great. You can you can literally, the scale is you can
Yeah.
have whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's just real estate really is what you put in, you get back. Like
Mm.
whatever you give, you get out. And
Wow.
that's at the end of the day, that's what's really cool about it. And I think
Yeah.
that's, you can be a smaller investor and still, you're still a real estate investor, and you could
Yeah.
love it. And that's all you want. You just want a couple properties. Great.
Yeah.
And you have the big dogs like you're talking about who have, hundreds of units or thousands of units, and, and that's great. But that's what's
Mhm.
cool is there's such a large variety of ways to invest and in different investors.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah, I feel like that's really important to point out because you really can make it as involved in your life as you want, but it doesn't have to be like you can still have a day job and just like for where I'm at right now. I mean, I plan to get more properties, but for where I'm at right now, my rentals are sort of like a third income in my household between myself, my
Mm.
husband, and my properties. And like that's really
Yeah,
cool. And that works for us right now.
yeah,
Mhm.
it is.
Well, I'm so proud of you, and you just like speak so eloquently and you have so much to offer. So thank you so much for being available for our podcast tonight. It is just really amazing to see such a young buck achieve what you have achieved. It's truly inspiring, and I hope that people who listen to this episode are as inspired as we are. If you want to follow Nick on socials, you have an Instagram, right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. So I'll put it in the show notes because you post about your journey, right?
Sometimes I've been pretty bad about it recently, but yes, I will be. I'll be better.
We'll
Okay.
show, we'll
So,
send the love your way anyways.
Cool. I
right.
appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Nick. It was such a pleasure talking with you and really interesting hearing your story from someone who
Yeah.
got started so young. I don't know anyone else like you, so thank you for taking the time to meet.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your guys' time as well. It's been awesome. I always love getting any opportunity I can to talk with other investors. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick.
Yep.
All right,
Bye.
thanks.
Bye.
And to our listeners, we'll see you next Monday.
Passive Aggressive Income was written, recorded, edited, and produced by co-hosts and creators Mims and Lexi. We truly want to thank our listeners, collaborators, friends, and family that continuously support us for all the love we receive. If you enjoy our show, please give us a glowing rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram to see what we are up to. For any inquiries, please email passiveaggressiveincome2023@gmail.com. Episodes of Passive Aggressive Income are available wherever you listen to podcasts, so make sure to subscribe and like us on your favorite streaming platform.